Okay, Likkutei, Parshat Shemini, page 36, 5 lines in the top. Class sponsored today by Avram Maradi in honor of Dr. Dower's birthday. Thank you. Okay, children, let's go. Anyway, now the Rebbe is explaining there's the Levyasan and the Sharabod. The Levyasan is going to kill the Sharabar. Sharabar is going to kill the Levyasan with things. So now the Rebbe starts explaining that there is a level of Yami, a level of Yabasha, there's Tzadikim that serve Hashem in Ruchnius only. There's certain Tzaddik, like Rabbi said, there's certain Tzaddikim that serve Hashem Begashmius. And he goes into this whole Hagam, okay, the Tzchek Asali Alakim, and he says like this. The last thing now the Rebbe is explaining is what Arizal writes, that through Torah mitzvahs you bring down the level of Hamshacha of Zah Nukva, Kutsha Bricha Shchinte. But for learning Torah, you bring down the level of Yichud of Yudke. We discussed the whole thing. You need Yichud Yudke and Vavke, and Yudke is higher than Vavke, and so on. And he says, and through that, you come to the level of Levyasan, which is the word Levi, which is Apam Yilava Ishi Elai, you accompany me, means it's a expression of connection. Gam Yeshlema, Pirshavei L'Ruchni, is the Neshama, V'chinas Levyasan. What does it mean, the spiritual Aveda? He said before, the Levyasan Tzadikim are ones that serve Hashem in Ruchnius. So what does it mean? Another interpretation. What it says in Shulchan Aruch HaChaim, She'ez Pashta Sagashmius Kodiv L'mayla Nevuah. There's a level that a person removes himself completely from Gashmius, similar, close to the level of prophecy, like it says in Reitz Chaim Al-Arizal, Ima Yisi Deir Shmeinim Shamu. The Gemara says, since the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, you're not allowed to be laughing because of the Churban.
Who would?
Huh?
Who would? Why did it say?
You never laugh?
No, but not after the Beis Hamikdash.
No, I'm saying after the, not laughing because of the Beis Hamikdash.
I know, but
that means the last 2,000 years you're not allowed to laugh.
oh, I thought when you witness it.
Don't worry about it. It should be a worse sin.
Yeah.
People laugh, yeah. The Rebbe never laughed. The Rebbe smiled. The Rebbe, watch, see? The Rebbe never laughed. He smiled. It was a very big smile. But the Rebbe, the Friedrich Rebbe used to laugh. But the Rebbe never laughed. Yeah, you ever see him laugh? You ever see any pictures or anything? Okay. I was with the Rebbe, as a bacher for many years.
But the other guy was clowning around or something.
Okay, whatever. But the VS, my Ovid HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what does Hashem do in the 4th hour of the day? He would teach Torah. Okay, this is where the Haggadah ends. Okay, let's go to back pre-Ha'ara. Okay. He says, what's the Aved of Levyasan? The Levyasan is the Ruchniistic Tzadikim, and that connects them to Hashem. About 15 lines to the top of 36. But the fact that this world is a Gashmiistic world, they still need Gashmiistic mitzvahs. You can't have a person, a great tzaddik of Levyasan stature, to just do spiritual mitzvahs. They have to do mitzvahs also. There's one column. That the world stands on. So in other words, like this. Their primary avodah was ruchnius. But they also had to do physical mitzvahs. But like Rabbi in the cave didn't do physical mitzvahs. Even afterwards, a lot of mitzvahs that the Rabbi didn't stop to do because he was Teirasim Nasi, his Torah was his business. And he said, V'chol mashi yesh bayam. The Gemara says, whatever is in the dry land is found in the ocean. As we know, approximately, not exactly, half the world is ocean, half the world is dry land. Okay? So that means Hashem created Anything in Yabosha is in the Yam. Anything in the Yam is in the Yabosha. Whatever is in the dry land is found in the ocean, and found in the ocean is found in dry land. Because you need both. You need dry land, and the fact that Hashem made it that way shows it must be. Hashem made the world half water, half dry land. That means it has to be that way. There has to be the Aveda of Yam, concealment, and there has to be the Aveda of revelation, which is Yabosha. In the going of tzaddikim, which are called Nuna Yama, the creatures of the sea, in the floor of Gavaya is extremely lofty. In other words, these tzaddikim, yes, they're on dry land, but they're called creatures of the sea. How could they be creatures of the sea if they live on dry land? The answer is al derech moshe adogim sheshotim bayom. It's like fish that swim in the ocean. Kachem shotim. So the neshamas of the Jews swim in. I'll explain in a second. Ubetisa achas magila maila gedela arbi ma'avedas hatzadikim shebagashmias. Mean like this: fish in the ocean move extremely quick, very quickly. That means, okay, you have to understand, let's take everything in the proper spiritual perspective. Okay, there are tzaddikim down here in the physical world, on dry land, there are the Aveda of the Yam. Now what does it mean, the Aveda of the Yam? Just like the fish, besides the fact that the Aveda is spiritual versus tzaddikim that do physical, the Yam's creatures swim extremely quick. No red lights, no nothing. It goes quick. That means these tzaddikim that are called creatures of the sea, their Aveda is to go tremendously great heights. Tremendously great heights. And he says, they're much greater, the Aveda tzaddikim shebegashmis, of simcha b'basar. Everything is much slower. The marshal, like the fish of the sea, they go from one end of the world to the next. Like fish migrate, right? From the north to the south, south to the north. They move quick. The same thing, those great neshamas, the Levyosa neshamas, Nun the Yama, the creatures of the sea, they go betisa achas elum magiem l'mayla, they go infinitely greater. Ve'ein te b'chal b'chinas islavus v'sichas domim k'mei avedus tzaddikim and al shebegashmius ala adraba b'krirus adomim u'benachas. Now he says like this: certain tzaddikim have this burning hislavus, to do mitzvahs. Passion, enthusiasm, excitement. These neshamas are called the Yam. In the Yam, it's all cold. In other words, let's rephrase this. In Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says there's two types of Ava. There's Ava Kirish Be'esh. There's a love like a burning fire. You're away from somebody and you're burning fire to be with them. And then you have another level of love, what's called Ava B'tanugim. Ava of pleasure. That means you're with them. You're there already. That Ava is not a burning love. Burning love comes from distance. Nafshi, where is my soul thirsting for you? In a dry desert, spiritual desert. When you're near the person, the love is not a love of, so to speak, heat. It's a love of Yam. It's a level of cold. Refreshing. He says, these tzaddikim, because of their great level, their Ava to Hashem is like Yam, meaning they're there already. There's no burning love to Hashem. That's the tzaddikim that are on dry land. The lower level, Shorabar tzaddikim. He says it inside. It's not at all in an enthusiastic way, like Aveda Tzaddikim and Al Shebegashmis. Simcha b'basa, simcha b'yayin. in a way a rishbei shall have a burning love and enthusiasm and excitement. It's cold. Because why? Because they're there. When you're there, you don't have a burning love to the person. With one movement, one swimming, one stroke. Says, this is very hard to explain verbally. But he says, the difference of the Avodah, he's explaining the Avodah of Levyasan and the Avodah of Shorabor. There's two types of tzaddikim. There's Levyasan tzaddikim, which come from the sea. Their level is spirituality. Like he says, you're not in Gashmias, like a Rashbi in the cave. And then you have tzaddikim that deal with Gashmias type of things. Amongst the differences between the two is tzaddikim in the Yabasha have the ava of distant from Hashem. They want to go out to Hashem. Like we discussed last night, like Nadav and Avihu had the ratzu, the longing to go up to Hashem. Then you have the tzaddikim at Nuna Yama, the cold, but they accomplish much more because they go from one end to the next much quicker. And that's why they're greater, or different, but in a certain respect greater than the shamas that are Yabasha. The Shorabot.
Because they're not concerned about improving.
What?
The Leviathan Sadiqim, they're there. I mean, they're there.
No.
They're not going to improve. There is no, if somebody's out there, they're there.
You still have Ava Betanugim. It's still Ava, but not a burning flame, a burning sensation, longing. It's enjoyment. There's a longing love when you're away from somebody you love, and then there's when you're with them. But it's not enthusiasm. You're there. He says, huh?
You told us before, Rabbi, like the shaliach that is far away and the shaliach which is.
If you would have heard the class last night, we mentioned it. Yeah. Lachein Lakim Rashbi. Therefore, Rashbi, when he was in the cave, he didn't do common mitzvahs maisis. He didn't do, like we say, Dr. Rebbe said before, he couldn't do sukkahs, he couldn't do lulav, he couldn't do matzah, because all he had was the carob tree and the mayan. And he says, that's the inyan of Sampirian Shalav Yosef. Okay? That is the fins of the Levyasan Sheba'em Mushat Min HaKosel. In other words, like this. What makes the Levyasan swim? The fins. Those fins are what kills the Shorabot. It's what shechs the Shorabot. And he'll explain what that means in Ruchnius. Therefore, the whole world stands on the Levyasan. Shemakiv kol ha'elam, that surrounds the whole world. Kanei de b'divrei Razal. In fact, Rashi says in Chumash that Hashem made everything Zocher in the Keva. And then he made two Levyasans, male and female. Then he killed the female because if they would have children, they're so big, they would take over the world. So Hashem saved it for loss of love. But this Levyasan is the Halveda of the whole world.
A couple of weeks ago, you talked about this rabbi, that Sheikh, the other rabbi.
Rabbi. Their names are called Rabbi and Rab Zera. Yeah.
This is it?
Were they related?
No, it's just related. I was wondering the same thing. This shafting with that shafting. But why does it look like
It is connected. To what extent, I don't know, but there is a concept of that, yes. What is Alter Rebbe getting to? Different neshamas, different Aveda. You have to know what your Aveda is and do your Aveda properly.
So one was Leviathan or one?
In other words, as Alter Rebbe is going to explain, the Levyasan is going to elevate the Sharabar, and the Sharabar is going to elevate the Levyasan. Each one has an advantage that the other one doesn't have. Okay, obviously. So eventually, each one is going to elevate the other, and that's the ultimate.
Everything has a purpose.
Yeah. Okay. So now the Alter Rebbe is going to explain the advantage of each one. He said, there'll be a battle between Levyasin and Shor Abod, and the Levyasin is going to shecht the Shor Abod with its fins. What does that mean? Obviously, it's not going to be it's not going to be a movie that he's going to be shechting him. It means spiritually. The Aved of Tzadikim of the Shor Abod, which is in the short of the Merkava on the left side. Elu Shubar V'zach. Shor Abod is very interesting. Bod, what does Bod mean? Shor Abod. Okay. Bod means refined, braided. It means selection. It's the shor, which is on the left side of the throne, right? Aryeh on the right, shor on the left. But shor abor means it's going to be that level of shor is going to be refined to a higher level. It says, even there avoid in gashmis. The Yom Tevein Simcha lebabasar eine kepshutei. Even those tzaddikim that he said, their avodah is physical, he says it's not simply sheyechol basar asher lemali's bitne chas v'sholom. What do you think? The tzaddikim are going to fress, and that's what they're interested in? They're interested in simcha, meat and wine, so they're going to have a juicy steak with a aged wine. I mean, come on.
Delicious.
So what does it mean? Just like the Gemara says, Ein simcha lebasar. It refers to the karbanos, shlomim, the korban chagiga, that was brought in the Beis Hamikdash in the time of the Yom Tov. Yes? What happened when you brought it on the mizbeach? It was elevated. You elevated that level of behemah to kedusha. The Aved of Tzaddikim in Gashmis is not that they enjoy fressing, and take It's, like Yitzchak Avinu needed 2 delicacies. 2. And he needed 2 goats. And the one's not enough. Okay, maybe Rivka was a good cook, but come on. He's talking about Yitzchak Avinu. So what does it mean? Over there, the Medrash says Rashi being done, one was called Pesach, one was called Chagig, was Pesach, he needed 2 korbanos, whatever. But it doesn't mean that tzaddikim are going to be simcha b'basar, b'yayin, they're going to be drunken and fressing meat. What it means is they're going to be elevating the meat like the korban chagiga was. They consumed it in the fire of the mizbeach.
That's what's going to happen to the Shor Abor.
Yes, shor bizman, shor habod. It's going to be refined shor. When it's tzaddik, the pasuk says tzaddik oichel l'seva nafshe. A tzaddik eats to fill his soul. We fress to fress the body. I mean, to fill up the body. Premium unleaded, Tzaddikim eat l'seva nafshi for the soul, to elevate those gashmistic sparks that need to be elevated. The tzaddikim of Ruchnius can't elevate the physical sparks. They're too great. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu said, Me'ayin li basa. Not because he doubted Hashem, where am I going to get meat? Moshe Rabbeinu Me'ayin li basa. Moshe Rabbeinu is Nun Yama, or maybe even higher. Combination of both together. Min Amayim Mishisiu. Moshe Rabbeinu is the level of Livyason, the Nun Yama. Moshe Rabbeinu says, I'm Ruchnius. Me'ayin li basa. So what does Hashem tell him? You doubt Hashem? I can't combine Ruchnis and Gashmis together? What are we hacking at China? But what was Moshe Rabbeinu saying? Me'ayin li basa. Who elevates the Gashmis? The tzaddikim of Shor Abor, not the tzaddikim of Livyasan. Tzaddikim of Nun Yama Livyasan could bring Mon. Mazin Ruchni. No pseilas. But they can't deal with But what's the mile of the other tzaddikim? They elevate the physical world.
I guess when Aaron attained it.
Yes, with the korbanos. He says, but that was Shalya Bizman Beis Merech Nichayach Mamish Lashem. Balderech Simcha Bebasa Yom Tif, like it says, you know the famous story, the ox with the shleimel?
No.
Oh, that would be good for you. The Baal Shem Tov was teaching his students, B'makom sheretzeinih shalodam shamu nimsa. One of the Torahs of the Baal Shem Tov is, in a place where you want to be, that's where you are. Now, if you're outside the room looking in, you want to be in. You're inside the room looking out, then you want to be out. Okay, and the Rebbe quotes a source for this in Nigla, by Erevin, you put your food in the place, you can go another two. Okay. So the Baal Shem Tov displayed this to the students. And he showed, the hound holding the hand, singing a song. They saw a vision, literally, of an ox wearing a shtreimel. You know what the Polish guys wear on Shabbos? Huh? So, how do you get an ox in a shtreimel? So the Baal Shem Tov explained to them, there was a Hasidic Jew that was fressing meat on Shabbos. His whole being was in the food. So he wanted to be in the ox, so he became an ox. And the clothing of Shabbos don't change. So it was an ox wearing the shtreimel. We're not talking about that level. We're talking about the level of tzaddikim elevating the food. Tzaddikim eichel, tzaddik eichel is seven nafshim. But that's the avoid of Shorabot. Elu shub kumesha kaz v'yis mechu b'cha daika. Elu shuloshim b'kosha b'nei shechad b'eis mikdosheinu. What do we say? V'yis mechu v'cha kol Yisrael mekachi shmecha. Right? Say in the Shchedish davening. What does it mean? V'yis mechu b'cha. The simcha is not in the gashmistic of food. The gashmi is b'cha in Hashem. Or as it says, chav beis, b'cha is the 22 letters of Torah. So yes, they're eating the physical meat. But what is their avodah? Elevating the food. They're lofty tzaddikim. You're talking about lofty tzaddikim. Sherabar's most tzaddikim are sherabar. I mean real tzaddikim. Are sherabar. But they're eating l'shem shemayim.
But Rabbi, the primary purpose of the food is really to nurture you physically, not spiritually.
Yeah.
Why are we mixing
The
that?
question, what is the physical purpose of the person? Enjoying life and serving Hashem.
But the food is the fuel.
The food is the fuel, but that's what Chassidus explains. If you're eating the food to enjoy life, then it's no good. If you're eating the food, in other words, do you eat to live or do you live to eat? If you live to eat, then you're lowering the food. If you eat to live like a Jew, so then you elevate the food.
The ultimate purpose of the food
Is to elevate to
physical sustenance.
correct.
Why
To-
are we corrupting that?
We're not, on the contrary, we're not corrupting it. We're saying tzaddikim eat. Seemingly eating is a very animalistic thing. Animals also eat. What's the difference between animal eating and human eating? It's supposed to be between you. Well, most people eat like animals.
Animals eat free.
Huh? It's free. Animals get for free, yeah.
Animals make
They make a bracha on their own way.
One can say that
Yod Asher Kanei Chamor Eves Balav. The Shor and the Chamor.
we
What?
are different than animals because we draw the maximum pleasure out of the food.
No, one thing is existing.
We
another
make
thing is-
That's exactly what's wrong with it.
Rabbeinu, when-
1 second. The purpose of a person eating is not to enjoy the food. I'm not saying you can't.
Of course it's enjoying the
That's what you think.
Rabbeinu, when we say a yid eats, the table is like a mizbeah.
Correct.
Which korban is it?
The Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, Oilo Korban.
It's korban all.
Yeah. Because the whole thing becomes consumed. That's the Aved of the Yid. The Aved of the Jew when they eat is, yeah, we're not talking a level not to enjoy the food. We're talking about, again, are you eating to live or you're living to eat? People the whole day talk about food. You walk in the street, in the elevator, you hear people talking about food.
God gave us this ability to enjoy.
Why did God make that type of very strong of eating? Why did Hashem make the desire of eating very strong? So Chassidus explains, because if we wouldn't enjoy eating, we wouldn't eat, and we wouldn't elevate all those sparks of Kedusha.
Right.
So how does Hashem get us to eat, to elevate the sparks of Kedusha? By making a desire to eat.
Makes it great.
But that's not the purpose of eating. The purpose of eating is to be able to be healthy, to serve Hashem properly.
That should be the kavanah when one eats.
Yes. What do you mean should be the kavanah?
And elevate the spot.
You make a bracha, yes, that the food is coming from Hashem, and this is our chayas, and you're eating the food in order to be able to serve Hashem.
When somebody's having ice cream, you're into the ice cream. It's not.
So then you're, pardon the expression, then you're exactly like an animal. The animal's also enjoying the
But I
food.
know what it's trying.
Rabbi, you elevate God's creation of good food by enjoying it.
Oh no. You only elevate the food when you're eating for the right purpose. When you eat it for the wrong purpose, you're lowering, that's what it says in Tanya, the food into shosh keeps it
The primary purpose is the pleasure of the
No.